Medicare finally has the power now to negotiate for lower drug prices. And by the way, they've been able to do that at the VA. At the VA, they're able to say, we're only going to pay X amount of dollars for this particular drug that, in fact, the veterans need. The only place that was exempt was Medicare. They couldn't do it for Medicare, but now they can. And it's going to lower prices for seniors. But here's the deal. Not only, for example, the woman I just mentioned, by the beginning of 2025, she'll not have to pay more than $2,000 a year total amount for drugs. $2,000. Folks, it's not just going to save people's lives and save people money so they don't have to go bankrupt to try to stay alive. It's going to save the government. It's going to reduce the deficit this year, $160 billion. These guys keep saying, how are you going to cut the deficit? Well, guess what? If your tax dollars don't have to go out paying all that exorbitant price for Medicare to drug companies, and it's rational, it's going to save $160 billion in tax dollars. Millions of Americans have diabetes. They need insulin literally to stay alive. How many people know somebody who needs insulin for their diabetes? Raise your hand. Well, they're paying somewhere between $400 and $700 a month now, or were until last month. Well, guess what? That insulin was invented 100 years ago. Literally 100 years ago, okay? You know how much it cost to make that insulin? $10. You know how much it costs to make it and package it? $13.50. And charging the kind of money they charge? Well, guess what? Guess what? Now we've lowered the cost of the insulin to maximum $35 a month. Sell the house? What do they have to do if one of them gets really sick? Well, thanks to the American Rescue Plan, which not one single Republican voted for, that I signed in the law as soon as I got to office, millions of Americans, or millions more have enrolled in the Affordable Care Act, saving an additional $800 a year for better coverage and better prices. My budget's going to make those savings permanent. We've passed them up till now, but they will expire if I don't get them done again. My MAGA Republicans all voted to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. They voted to get rid of it over 50 times since Barack passed it. Over 50 times all of history in any country to take on the climate crisis by lowering your home energy bills, which MAGA Republicans voted against. We've now gotten to the point where it's cheaper to generate electricity from wind and solar than it is from coal and or fossil fuels. And I'm from Scranton. Okay, I'm not against coal per se. A lot of people made a living on that way. But we're providing incentives for folks to make the transition. So here's what we're doing. We're providing you with a tax credit and rebates if you're buying new energy efficient appliances. Heat pumps, the new heat pumps, they can heat the whole damn house. No, I'm serious, not a joke. Well, if you need a heater and you need to buy one of those heat pumps, you get a tax credit for doing it. And water heaters, tax credit to weatherize your homes with better windows and doors. I gathered together leaders from American Auto Workers in the South Lawn of the White House, all the American manufacturers. And it was 2 summers ago. And guess what? They all agreed within the next month. They came to me and said, we're going to go all electric. We're going to go all electric. And that's going to save billions of gallons of gas. They're going to install 500,000 charging stations all across America. And by the way, the things I'm proposing not only lift the burden off of families in America, it's also going to generate economic growth. And that's not all. To support working parents, my budget expands access to affordable child care for millions of families. And it's going to invest in paid family and medical leave. which all of you fought like hell for, so that the U.S. is no longer the only major economy in the world that doesn't have paid leave. Folks, my budget also invests in elder care and home care. They're going to install 500,000 charging stations all across America. And by the way, the things I'm proposing not only lift the burden off of families in America, it's also going to generate economic growth. And that's not all. To support working parents, my budget expands access to affordable child care for millions of families. And it's going to invest in paid family and medical leave, which all of you fought like hell for, so that the U.S. is no longer the only major economy in the world that doesn't have paid leave. Folks, my budget also invests in elder care and home care. How many of you are like I went through with my mom and my dad as they got older? They wanted to stay in their own home. It was cheaper to stay in their own home than to have to sell everything and have everything gone to go into a home. Well, fortunately, I lived close enough and they could move in with me. But my point is, it's cheaper if we provide for the ability for them to stay in their homes. It's not only the right thing to do, but it's cheaper on the taxpayer. All the things are going to help folks go to work, generate economic growth in our nation, and still take care of their families. The point is that every time I talk about things, people talk about it like this is an overwhelming burden on the taxpayer. It's going to save money for the taxpayers. No, it really does. Save money for the taxpayers and generate growth. That's how the economy grows. That's why I was able to create 12 million new jobs in 2 years. More than any president in American history has created in 4 years. We've done in 2 years what no president's done in 4 years because of you. But the point is, it's good for everybody. We're not hurting anyone. My budget also restores the child tax credit. You know, when that was in place during the pandemic, guess what? Child poverty was cut in half to the lowest level in all American history. And guess what? Because moms are able to go to work. Moms are able to go out there and make a living. Folks, we can reduce child poverty and increase child opportunity. Again, it's going to help millions of parents go to work, knowing their children are being taken care of. And yet, only a few of my Republican friends support it. My wife Jill, who's a Philly girl, if I didn't root like hell for every Philadelphia team, I'd be sleeping alone. Oh, you think I'm kidding? Jimmy knows whoa. Anyway, she's in class today teaching. She has an expression she uses for real. He said, any country that out-educates us will out-compete us. Let me say it again. Any country that out-educates us will out-compete us. For decades, we were the only country in the world. We led the world economically. We were the only economy in the world that was moving that fast because we had the best educated public in the world. We started before any other country. Other had higher education, was more sophisticated, and a lot of private institutions. But everybody in America at the turn of the 20th century said that we could go to school for free for 12 years. It was a game changer. It was a game changer. But the rest of the world is caught up. We all know 12 years is not enough to succeed in the second quarter of the 21st century. Seriously, 12 years is not enough. If we want America to have the best educated workforce, we need to invest in preschool. I'm not talking about daycare. I'm talking about school. All the studies have recently shown this is real. Think about it now. That you've heard all these stories that if you come from a broken home or where mom or dad has a drug addiction or there's a real problem or books in the house, etc. By the time a kid gets to first grade, they will have heard 1 million fewer words spoken. Not different words, just spoken. They're not included. Well, guess what? Studies that children go to preschool who go 3, 4, 5, 6 years, 3, 4, 5 years old, go to school, not daycare, they increase by nearly 50% the likelihood that they'll finish high school and go on to earn a 2 or 4 year degree no matter what their background is. Because guess what? Their brain's still developing. They're still developing. They're exposed to the same thing other kids are exposed to. They grow. We also know that many families struggle to afford college for their children. That's why we had these things called, and some of you may have used them, Pell Grants. For families earning less than $60,000 a year, they can get a Pell Grant to go to college, to help them pay for college. Well, the last 2 years, we've increased Pell Grants by $900, and my budget increases by another $820. It used to be if you went to the University of Penn State, or the University of Delaware where I went, state schools, the state paid a significant portion of the tuition. They're not anymore. They're not paying anymore. They're paying some, but not much, because they've cut paying for it. Well, guess what? Try paying for college, even at a state institution where you can commute. It's expensive as hell, especially if you're a couple kids in a family making less than 60 grand a year. So it matters a lot. It matters a lot. The more we educate people, the better chance they have. Doesn't mean everybody that's educated is going to succeed, but it's significantly better opportunity. And the world's getting a hell of a lot more complicated. So I've increased my budget. We increase it now, as I said, we're paying another $820 to help people from families with low incomes. Let's connect students' careers and opportunities starting in high school. We should provide for 2 years of community college. By the way, in school, when you're in your sophomore, junior in high school, you should be able to take credits that allow you to qualify for college credit at a state university or at a community college. People are beginning to do that around the country. Some of the best training in America occurs there. Let's offer every American a path to a good career, whether they go to college or not. Like the path you started here, the first apprenticeship program in the nation, in which students can graduate as a full-time journeyman with an associate's degree here. In the past 2 years, we've created, as I said, 12 million jobs, more than 2 years than any president's done in 4 years. I don't have to tell the union workers here that includes 800,000 manufacturing jobs in 2 years. 2 years. We've also seen more people apply to start small businesses than ever before. Not just unions, it's small businesses. People are now, more people. What's someone making an application to start a small business? It's about hope. It's about hope. In the last several decades, corporate America things began to change.